Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. So glad to welcome back former President Donald Trump. Mr. President, I haven't talked to you since the attempt to kill you in Pennsylvania, so I'm very grateful that you're alive. I'm grateful that you're back. Thank you for joining me today. And did it change how you go about campaigning that someone tried to blow your head off and almost did?
Well, a little bit. They're going about things a lot differently. There are many, many more people, Secret Service people, and other people. I notice it's a lot of people now. A lot of people. I think it's much different, actually, than it was.
Do
Absolutely.
you think about it much? Did it change you at all?
I don't want to think about it because you don't want to change. You have to do what you have to do, whatever it is. It's a dangerous profession. Being president is a dangerous job, I can tell you.
I know the Iranians have been trying to kill you for 5 years. Do you think that the lawfare and the rhetoric directed against you contributed to climate, in which an unhinged person like the killer in Pennsylvania did kill Corey Compatore and wounded 2 other people? Do you think the rhetoric directed at you and the lawfare contributes to the climate that created that sort of an attack?
Well, it could. I was mentioned at the Democrats' little party that they have going on in Chicago, and it's pretty sad. I just heard that many people were shot during that, and 5 people were killed already in Chicago during this convention. That just came out, that number, which is shocking. But they don't talk about that. But I was mentioned, I think, almost 200 times, and they mentioned the economy about 5 times. They mentioned the border, maybe none. They mentioned crime, almost none. So, I mean, they're out of control. These people are out of control, and they're ruining our nation. Our nation is going to hell, and we have millions of people coming in haplessly, coming in from all over the world, from parts unknown, from countries people never even heard of, and they're just pouring into our country, and they come in from prisons. They come in from mental institutions, insane asylums. And they're coming in like at numbers that nobody's ever seen before, ever.
I thought when you and Elon Musk sat down, you made that point. I want to cover inflation, immigration, and Israel, but I want to start with Israel, Mr. President. Do you think President Biden and Secretary Blinken have held Israel back? Are they making Israel basically fight to a draw?
I think that Israel's being hurt very badly by the Democrats. I think they're making it very hard for the Democrats to win, very, very hard for the Democrats to what they're doing with respect to Israel, what the Democrats are doing, they're making it very hard for Israel to win. If you take a look at the stance, the other side is saying just hold out. If they hold out, they know they're going to win because so much pressure is being put on Israel. Right now, Israel, the pressure that's being put on them by Biden and Schumer, who's frankly, Schumer is he a member of Hamas? Is he a Palestinian? I don't know. How would a Jewish person contribute to Democrats right now? They have to finish the job. Israel has to finish the job, get it done, and get it done fast. And they have to do it. They have to get it done fast.
Now, Mr. President, if Iran hit them again,
October 7th. There are a lot of people that are saying October 7th never existed. That it never existed. It never took place. That's starting. They used to say the Holocaust never took place.
I know. There are crazy.
There's never been a moment like this.
There are crazy people out there.
There's never been a moment like this for Jewish people.
If Iran hits Israel a second time, do you want Israel to hit them back much, much harder than they did the first time? Because Biden said, take the win. I couldn't believe he said that, but he said, take the win. It wasn't a win. A Bedouin girl got injured and they took 300 missiles. Would you urge Israel to hit back hard?
They have no choice. Otherwise, it's never going to end. They have no choice. There has to be retribution, and it's going to have to take place. And the worst thing they have going is Biden. Now he's out at a beach again someplace. Somebody says he looks good in a bathing suit, so spend your time on a beach. I mean, you talk about Biden. Was that the overthrow of the decade? That was
it'll be written about for years. We won't know what happened for years. Do you think he's running the country right now?
I think I already know, and so do you know. You know what happened.
Well, Nancy Pelosi, but do you think he's actually
with the debate?
Oh, well, you knocked him out. Do you think he's running the country right now?
Biden? I don't think he knows where he is. But still, what they did, and part of the reason he doesn't, it got very much worse over the last 10 days or so. But part of the reason he does it because I don't think they're allowing him to. They've taken the presidency away from this guy. They've actually taken the presidency away. This was a coup. This was the first coup of an American president, or probably of any high official. But this
Do
was
you expect
incredible.
in
I
your
watched
debate
it, and I
with-
watched his angry speech. You know, he should be angry at them, and he is angry at them, really angry at them.
when you
But I
debate
watched
Kamala
that
Harris,
angry speech he made.
will you adopt the same tactics vis-a-vis Kamala Harris? The best line of the first debate was when you said, "I have no idea what he just said," and probably he doesn't either. Are you going to let her talk herself into a hole as well?
Well, everyone's different. You know, when you debate, I did a lot of debates. I mean, from somebody that 8 years ago never debated, other than life is a big debate, as you know, better than most. But no, I would say that it will depend on where we are at the time. You know, she turned down the Fox debate. She didn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do anymore. She just wants to go to ABC fake news, which is by far the worst. ABC is the worst newscast of any newscast by far. And, you know, a lot of people don't know that. You only would know that if you were subject to the things that I'm subject to.
Well, the
But
obvious
ABC,
question for her is,
George,
why did she skip the Netanyahu speech? It was a snub. Do you think she snubbed
terrible.
Netanyahu?
Well, she went to a party. She went actually to a party. And you know that. She went to a party, a sorority party or something.
The sorority party, yep.
And a very unimportant one. They have them numerous times during the year. It's a shame. And you know, one thing I'd like to know, as you know, in my opinion, she's a Marxist, because if you go back and look at her, what she's done over the years, she's a Marxist. Now, she's changed and flip-flopped on just about everything she believed in life, but she's a Marxist. And where is her father? Her father's a Marxist professor. I don't know if you know that or not.
I do.
But he seems to have, he's not around. I'd like to find out, where is he? He's a professor. They don't interview the father. I think I'd like to find out more about her from the father.
Well, she is a San
Maybe have a good
Francisco
relationship
radical
with her.
Democrat. Did you ever build anything in San Francisco? I know you built in Southern California. Did you ever try and develop
Well,
anything
I
in
own
San Francisco?
something in San Francisco.
Oh, you
I
poor
own
guy.
something. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in San Francisco. So San Francisco used to be the greatest city maybe in the world. That was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, people would say the great Bob Tisch and others. You know Bob Tisch, he passed away a while ago, but he was everywhere. And he would tell me the greatest city is San Francisco. And he'd be looking down now, and he wouldn't be too happy when he sees it. But no, I have holdings in San Francisco. I own a big percentage of the Bank of America building, which
Well, that city
I
is
think is one
upside
of the
down,
greatest.
and that is what San Francisco Democrats do, and she is a radical, and I'm glad you were calling her out as being a radical. Will you do that in the
she's
debate?
a Marxist. She's a Marxist. Maybe she's worse than that. And she's going to change her stripes. If she got in, you will see a different person. They even have her stopping the laugh. Don't laugh, because that's the laugh of a crazy person. Don't laugh. Never laugh. You notice she's not laughing anymore.
She
is a
wanted
very
to ban
dangerous
fracking.
person.
She wanted to ban fracking completely. Now she said she didn't mean it. Do you believe her?
Of course she's going to ban fracking. She's going to all fossil fuel is going to be dead, and that means our country will die very quickly, because our country is propelled by fossil fuel. Without fossil fuel, it doesn't work. Fossil fuel of many different types, and you can go nuclear too. Nuclear now is amazing. It's very safe. You do it in a smaller combination. You hook smaller combinations up. I mean, nuclear is doing well. You know, France is heavy in nuclear. China's
We've
heavy
got
in
to have it for
nuclear now.
AI and supercomputing, or we will not stay ahead
You're
of the
never
Chinese.
going to be able to compete.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. AI, and I've learned a lot about AI. They need double the electricity that we have in the whole country. So take all of the electricity capacity that we have right now. You need double that to be dominant in AI. And if we're not going to be dominant, then China's going to be dominant, and that will be a bad day for us, because that's really that's sort of the new oil. But we will have, we are in very bad shape. Nobody is going to be able to build plants. You know, to get the approval environmentally to build a plant is virtually impossible. With me, they'll have their approvals very quickly.
I'll come back to energy in a moment, but I want to stay on Iran. Iran's been trying to kill you for 5 years. How will you put them back in the box, and how will you stop them from attacking Israel?
I want to be able to get along with Iran. I want to get along with China. I want to get along with everybody. I'm not looking to hurt people. I'm looking to make the world a safer place. We had a safe planet when I was president, and I'll tell you what, Viktor Orban, as you know, from Hungary, head of Hungary, the prime minister, and a very strong guy and a good person, by the way, in so many ways. But he said, unless Trump comes back, this whole world is going to blow up. And he saw what I did. He saw that when countries got out of line, I was able to hold them in line. And the reason is that I used the economic power of the United States and other powers of the United States. And I didn't get into any wars. I stopped wars with a telephone. I was able to get on telephone calls and stop wars. At least 4 wars stopped. And you look at all these places all over, and you need somebody that has a certain ability. But I stopped potential wars with telephone calls. By the way, Putin would have never got into Ukraine, and you know that. He would have.
Yes.
And by the way, for 4 years he didn't. He didn't go in. He never went in. And you know what?
I can't imagine America under Kamala Harris. I think Xi will walk all over her, Mr. President. Do you agree?
They'll be laughing at her. They will not even listen to her. And she's going to weaken our military. Our military will be weak. Our economy will be busted. We will be bankrupt as a country. We will be absolutely. You know, I was going to be very shortly totally dominant in oil. We were going to do double and triple what Saudi Arabia. We have more oil, I call it liquid gold, as you know, under our feet than Saudi Arabia or Russia by a lot. We had Anwar that I got approved, that everybody wanted, that I got approved. Nobody else, that not even Ronald Reagan. He worked so hard. He wanted to get Anwar more than anybody, and he couldn't get it done. I got it done. In their first week in office, they terminated Anwar in Alaska. It's perhaps the size of Saudi Arabia. That's the kind of numbers we're talking about.
Let's go to, we got a lot of oil in Pennsylvania. I hate to say this because I'm from Buckeye State. We make fun of the Steelers fans, but you've been in York, you've been in Wilkes-Barre, you're going to go to Erie, you got shot in Butler. Pennsylvania is everything in this election, and they need energy. Do they believe Kamala Harris will actually let them produce? Because if they do, you know, we got some bridge in Brooklyn to sell them.
I don't think they believe it. I don't think they believe it at all. And if they do, they're foolish. Because, look, she is a Marxist, radical left, and I can say this, she's a radical left lunatic. And we can't let this person destroy our country. Her ideology is that of a Marxist, maybe worse than that. But if you take a look at what she did, she destroyed San Francisco. She then went on to destroy California. California is not the same place. It's horrible right now.
I left. I lived there for 25 years. I left. You don't have to preach to me. I agree with you. I want to ask you about Josh Shapiro.
She's the one that started it.
Josh Shapiro would have made Pennsylvania.
Wait. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I am. She started it. She started it in San Francisco, but I want to talk about Pennsylvania.
She started it, and she destroyed it. She destroyed San Francisco. I don't even know if it comes back. You need somebody very strong to have it come back. And she absolutely destroyed the state of California. What they've done with the environmental laws, with the rules, regulations, and on crime, you can do anything. Unless you're Donald Trump, you don't get in trouble for anything. She has destroyed the state. She has destroyed the state of California. And
if you go downtown L.A., there are 70,000 people on the street in Los Angeles County. More now, Mr. President. I want to go back to Josh Shapiro. They didn't make him vice president. You would have had a hard time winning Pennsylvania if Josh Shapiro was on that ticket. Do you think they didn't put him on because he's Jewish?
100%. They didn't put him on because he's Jewish. I think he's highly overrated too, by the way. But they didn't put him on because he's Jewish, and I just can't believe when you look at the polls where I'm probably up to 50%, 40%, 45%, and what I've done for Israel and what I've done, I have been the best president by far for the Jewish people. There's never been
interesting. Walter Russell
like
Mead said that last hour. Probably the dean of American National Security people said that in the 76-year history of America and Israel relations, you're the best president. Why have they not done anything about anti-Semitism on campus? And have you heard them say a word about the anti-Semitism on campus at the DNC?
the Democrats don't talk about that. They don't talk about the border. All they do is knock me. You know, it's interesting when they say, please, sir, don't be personal. Don't be personal. They're very personal. They say whatever they want. And I guess I mentioned hundreds of times. They don't mention the border. They don't mention the crime. You know, the real crime stats are terrible. The FBI did them, and they didn't include New York. They didn't include Chicago. They didn't include many places where the stats are out of control. Think of it. Since the DNZ opened, which is 2 days ago, 5 people are killed, and many people injured.
Chicago's a brutal place. There were 50 missiles launched at Israel this morning, Mr. President. I want to go back to Israel. What would you do with Gaza? They've won the war, but they got to find Sinwar. They got to get their people back. But how would you help rebuild Gaza in your second term?
Well, when you say Israel won the war, but they have not won the war of public relations, because the world is angry at Israel, because the Democrat Party doesn't stick up for Israel, doesn't justify anything having to do with Israel. And so they are not winning the war of public relations, to put it very, very simply. And other nations are angry at Israel because they're just so poorly represented by the Democrats. The Democrats are against. I can't believe it. Chuck Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. And yet, when it comes to election, for whatever reason, he'll be supported by Jewish people. He's Jewish, and yet he's totally given up on Israel as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you had David Friedman as your ambassador, and he was great. You had Mike Pompeo as your Secretary of State. He was great. Jared Kushner was great. Robert O'Brien was great. Are you going to name your national security team before the election, or at least people who will be on it, so that the American people can be assured?
I think in a sense they'll know. I mean, they already see certain people that are out there a lot, and they know. But we're going to have great people. You know, one thing is when I went there, I had a lot of things going for me, but I didn't know people from Washington, and I had to rely on people to get names and recommendations. And I got a lot of great ones, in all fairness, but I got some that I would have never used had I known. Now I know. I know people better than anybody in the history of Washington. I know the good, the bad, the dumb, the smart. I know the weak. I know the loyal. Loyal is interesting because loyal you never really know until certain times, until certain events happen. Loyalty is very interesting. That's something you never really know, but learn about.
What do you think this judge is going to do to you?
That's a little bit of a hit and miss.
Yeah. What do you think this judge is going to do to you in New York next month? Because I'm afraid he's a radical,
first of all,
too.
I'm not allowed to talk about it because you know what? I'm under a gag order.
Oh, that's right.
This is a very, very conflicted judge, and I'm not allowed to talk because I'm under a gag order. This is a Democrat judge who was appointed, not elected. He was appointed. I guess that means he's temporary. And he ruled on a case, and he said guilty. He made it. What he did in that case is disgraceful. It's a disgrace.
You're right. Let's stay away from that because I had forgotten. They still got the gag order. I'd forgotten that. Let me go back to
I'm not allowed to talk about the important parts, but he's a highly conflicted judge, and people are very angry about it. And there was no crime committed whatsoever. If you take a look at all of your pundits, Jonathan Hurley and McCarthy and Greg Jarrett and all of them, Mark Levin, everybody said there was absolutely no case.
It will be. You will win on appeal if he doesn't throw it out. But I'm not going to go down that road. Instead, I'm going to ask you about Kamala Harris. She uses the same line.
Wait. I don't know. We have a bad line or something because you seem to talk when I'm talking. But just wait a minute. I'm under a gag order. Think of that. I'm the leading candidate. I'm actually leading in the polls. I just see it right today. I'm leading despite all of the the horrible things they say, lies. They're all lies. But I'm leading in the polls. I'm the leading candidate for president of the United States, and I have a judge who is appointed in New York City, state, appointed judge, not an elected judge. You have to get elected. He's appointed. And I have a judge who has me under a gag order where I'm not allowed to talk. So when somebody like you asks me a question about that, I can't talk about the most important aspects of the case.
No, that's
Nobody's
you're right.
ever heard of a thing. Think of
Right.
it. I'm a politician running. I'm leading for president of the United States. I'm the nominee of the Republican Party, and I have a gag order by a very, very highly conflicted Democrat judge in New York.
Yeah.
By the way, started by the DOJ. The
Yeah.
DOJ had its people in that office. This is all a Biden thing and a Kamala thing. These two people, they're the ones, when they talk about convicted felon. Well, first of all, I'm not a convicted felon, number one. That doesn't happen for a while. But it's so unfair what happened. Just think of this. It started with the DOJ. They have their representatives going and working on it, and also with the state case.
Well, Mr. President, when you debate Kamala,
and that includes Fani and her lover Wade.
yeah.
In,
When you debate
Atlanta.
Kamala Harris, she's going to use her same line. She uses it in every debate. Kamala Harris for the people, the 5 words I've used most in my life, and she's going to accuse you of being convicted. She's going to say, I'm a prosecutor, and I've prosecuted people like that, and the 5 words I've used the most are Kamala Harris for the people. How are you going to respond to that in under a minute and a half?
Actually, it's pretty simple. I'm going to say they're the ones who started it. They did this against their political opponent. I'm their political opponent, and they started all of this, and it's never been done in this country before. And I'm a totally innocent person, and the people know that. And you know what? If I wasn't, I wouldn't be leading everybody in polls, including her.
Well, you're winning because of immigration. I believe that Americans are sick of the border. Not are you going to finish the wall, and how quickly will it be finished?
Well, first of all, I built a tremendous, I built hundreds of miles of wall,
Yes.
number one. And it was very hard to get the approval because Congress was not behaving at that point. Now they'll behave. But Congress was not, I don't know if you saw the kind of, did you notice who was endorsing me? Got Mitch McConnell endorsed me. A lot of people endorsed me that perhaps years ago wouldn't have endorsed me, but they were all endorsing me. I built hundreds of miles of wall. You know what I did? I said it was an invasion of our country, and I took the money out of the military. I built hundreds of miles. I then was going to add 200 miles more, far more than I said I was going to build, and I was going to add 200. I built the wall, and then we had a disgusting and shameful result in the election, and they decided not to build it. And I said, whoa. That's amazing. They didn't want to put it up. And then they went open borders. And now because they went open border, and she was the czar, now she says she's not the czar. She was the czar. She was the head of the border. She was the person put in charge, whether you want to call her czar or not, but she was the czar. That's the term they used. But she was the border czar, the worst border czar in history. And then what happened is you have hundreds, and she only went there once, but she didn't really go there once. She went to a location that you'd love to go with your family for dinner, okay? That was not the border. That was not the kind of border we're talking about, where people have
No,
been
she didn't, and
killed
the
on a
Lester
daily
Holt
basis.
interview was damning. Let's close by talking about inflation, because I promised Margot I would get you off at 9:02.
Okay.
Mr. President, she wants price controls on food. They never work. I work for Nixon. We don't have an exhibit on price controls at the Nixon Library because they don't work. They didn't work in the 70s. They won't work now. Does she know that, or do you think she's economically illiterate?
No, I think she's a Marxist, and that's what they want to do, price controls. A Marxist wants to destroy the system. They want to, if it doesn't work, that's okay. That's good, because she wants to destroy. She will destroy our country. Price controls, forget about Nixon. They've never worked anywhere in the world. In history, they've never worked, because people get around price controls very easily, and very, very easily. Look, she came in with a bad energy policy. That's what caused the inflation. Then she went back to Trump. She went back to and she was drilling. The difference is I would have 4 times now the numbers that I had when they took over.
I agree with that.
So I'd have
Energy
4
is
times.
freedom,
They're
and
up
you
to
are
my
a drill guy. Let me close here.
No, but they're up to mine. I think this is very important. They're up to my number. The only reason is that gasoline was going up to $6 and $7 a gallon. And so they immediately said, go back and let them drill like they were drilling under Trump. But they really weren't, because they're not renewing leases. They're not doing a lot of the things you have to do. Here's the difference. So they're trying to compete with my number, which is okay. But I today would be at least 4 times more. We'd be double what Saudi Arabia and Russia are doing. I beat them, but we would now be more than double what Saudi Arabia and Russia would do. We would be making a fortune, we'd be paying down debt, would have so much energy. Energy bills would be cut in half instead of tripling and quadrupling. I mean, you have the energy is really going up. Take a look at what's happening with the gasoline prices. They're getting up close to $5.
Oh, eggs are between $4 and $7. Let me close with nuclear power because you brought it up. We need to get those plants built if we want to win AI and supercomputing. Will you commit to getting nuclear back on track in America?
No. 100%. Not only nuclear, we have other things. Now, the worst and the most expensive is wind, and they are subsidizing these wind farms all over the place, and they're destroying the fields, the plains, the canyons. I mean, what they're doing to our country, they're killing all the birds, and it's the single most expensive form of energy. And remember, you have to replace them. They wear out. We don't need that. We have the best. From an energy standpoint, there's no country in the world that has what we have, and we don't use it.
But she's going to ban fracking. Last question. She said she's no longer for Medicare for all. Do you believe her on that? She's flip-flopped a lot. I hope you hit her on this.
You can't believe anything. She's going back to what she said. Now, here's the only thing. Our country will be long bankrupt by the time you get there, so it's not going to matter. This country is going to go bankrupt very quickly. We have to start paying down debt. We would have been paying down debt. We would have been doing things that today we would have been in exactly the opposite. We wouldn't have had inflation. Would be the dominant energy force in the world. We were energy independent under me, but we would have been we were never energy independent before. We were energy independent. We would have been the dominant energy force in the world. And we would have we were doing things before COVID came in. Then we did a great job in COVID, didn't get credit. You know, many more people died under Biden than died under Trump. And I had COVID in prime time. We had it in the height of it before anyone really even knew what it was. Nobody knew. But many more people died under Biden. His management of COVID was horrible.
Their management. It's Biden-Harris.
That should have made it much better.
Mr. President, I'm not going to get your staff mad at me, so I'm going to close by asking you this. Back to Israel, and let's put an underscore on this.
Just so you understand, I'm not Biden. My staff doesn't tell me to get off the phone. Okay? So you can just close at a leisurely pace.
All right, here's my leisurely pace.
I don't want to rush you. I think that's why you keep talking over me, because you're afraid of my staff.
I am. I'm afraid of Margot.
You got used to Biden. Well, if you're afraid of Margot, I understand that. But listen, you got used to Biden. No, my staff is great. They're wonderful. They don't stop me. But you ask me one more question.
All right, here's my last question.
We'll do it at a different time.
If Israel goes into southern Lebanon,
you people got so used to Biden, where staff would say that's enough, and they'd cut off the mic.
I'm going to get. I want a president back who talks to the press. I can't believe she hasn't done an interview in 31 days, but we'll come back to that. If Israel has to invade Lebanon to kill Hezbollah, and you're president, will you support them down the line, give them the weapons they need, and will you use American forces, if necessary, from carriers to stop Iran from hurting Israel?
They have to do what they have to do. But that whole thing is crying out now to get something done so there can be a lasting peace. You have to make a lasting peace. I will work on that, and I'll get things done too. And they know a lot of things going on right now, because they know I'm leading in the polls. They know if I get in, it's going to be a whole different story. And that different story is going to lead to getting a real peace, not a peace that's going to be in 2 years, there'll be another attack like the October 7th attack. Do you know that people are actually denying the October 7th attack even took place? I was watching it last night. Some of these protesters, they're denying it even took place. Well, there are people that deny that the Holocaust took place. It's the same people. But they're denying that it even took place. We will get a lasting, strong, powerful peace that's going to be there. Hey, I did the Abraham Accords. I did things that nobody thought were possible. Anybody else would have gotten the Nobel Peace Prize. Anybody but me.
And will you punish campuses that permit Jewish students to be intimidated? Our alma maters have both become hotbeds of anti-Semitism, Penn and Harvard. Will you punish campuses that allow Jewish kids to be discriminated against and threatened?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Are you kidding? You take a look at Harvard, what they're doing, and you take a look at the grants they get and all of the money and the billions of dollars that they have. It's a disgrace. The way they're treating, especially, I mean, I must say, as I'm reading and as I'm seeing from reports, especially Jewish students,
Yes.
they're treating them horribly.
Yes.
They're treating
Mr.
them horribly. It's not even believable. You know, years ago, and we'll end at this, but years ago, and not that long ago, I'd say 10, 12, 15 years ago, there was no more powerful, call it a lobby, but there was no more powerful lobby than the Israeli lobby, than the Jewish lobby. Today, it's almost the opposite. You have people like me that are big supporters, but we're in a tremendous minority. When guys like Schumer go for Hamas and Hezbollah, I mean, look at Schumer. Why would a Jewish
it's pretty incredible.
person be voting for Schumer? No, why would somebody who's Jewish be voting for these people? If Jewish people vote for her, and I use this expression, they ought to go out, because Kamala is a person that is very anti-Israel and very anti-Jewish, but she solves that problem by saying her husband's Jewish, okay? But that doesn't, her actions are the worst that we've ever had. She wouldn't, think of it, you brought this up at the beginning, she wouldn't even meet. She didn't want to meet at all with Netanyahu when he came to town. Wouldn't go to, it's pretty important when somebody speaks before Congress. Wouldn't even think about seeing him then going. What she's doing to Israel is unbelievable. She's giving the other side tremendous hope, and that hope is going to keep the war going forever.
That's the most important thing you've said. You're right. The Democratic Party is keeping Hamas in the field fighting because they think they're going to win.
Absolutely. They're saying just hold out, because they're not going to be – Israel's not going to be able to withstand the pain. If they get elected, if she gets elected, this Marxist that ruined San Francisco and ruined California, people don't even want to go there. They're not livable places, and they were the best, and they're not livable. If that one gets in, our country is finished, and we can't let it happen. If I was running against some normal Democrat like they used to be, it's a big difference. I'd be talking a lot differently, believe me.
Well,
this is a woman that will destroy our country like she destroyed San Francisco and like she destroyed California. And
I am very grateful that you are alive, Mr. President. You're still the best interview in America. Keep coming back, because you got to flood the zone against these people. You got to go everywhere and talk to everyone. I hope you do Ruthless Podcast. I hope you go everywhere and talk to everyone.
Well, we're doing a lot, and we always enjoy doing you, and have a good time. We'll be doing you again. Have a good time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Be well. Bye-bye.
Thank you.